Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel, Jilly's Journey. And today I'm going to piggyback on the last video. So I do want to put out more mental health tip videos. So today we're going to talk about how I used CBD Full Spectrum oil to heal about 80% of my mental illness. So I healed myself, what I say is about 80%, approximately 80% of my mental illness. Currently right now, I am still taking pharmaceutical medications and I am no longer using CBD. But let me break down what I did over 5 years ago now. So I don't know exactly when it was. It was around like 2019. It was either before the coronavirus. I think it was right before COVID. So I went off of pharmaceutical meds. I had really had enough. If you need to know more of my background, you can check out my last video, or you can check out a video that I made several months ago, maybe even a year ago, where I talked to you about my personal experience with mental illness. But anyone who is dealing with schizophrenia, or anyone who is dealing with schizoaffective. Now, I have a diagnosis of schizoaffective disorder. And if you or someone you know is suffering from schizoaffective disorder, or if you or someone you know is suffering from schizophrenia, it might be worthwhile to listen to my video and then do your own research on CBD Full Spectrum oil. So, several years ago, again, before the coronavirus pandemic, before 2019, I was in my bed and I was just thinking to myself, I just don't want to take these pharmaceutical medications anymore. I was about 17 years old when I first went to the hospital for the first time with symptoms of delusion. And I also tried using I went on pharmaceutical meds at that time for just a few weeks, and then my parents and I were like, we don't know if we want to have me going down this road of taking a lot of medications. I'm only 17, so maybe it was just the fact that I had smoked a little bit of weed in high school that kind of messed up my brain. So I went on pharmaceutical meds, went off of them shortly after, and I was honestly doing so well. The medications they gave me, although I took them short term, they really kind of snapped me out of whatever weed was doing to me back then when I was younger. And the problem is I ended up using LSD 3 times, which is also known as acid. After I had been released from the hospital, I tried LSD. Not right after, not like the day I was released. I was like, I'm going to do some acid and ruin my life again. Obviously, I just made 3 poor choices with a boyfriend I was dating at the time, and I tried acid, and it turned my experience of psychosis into a full-blown delusional, paranoid, symptoms of schizophrenia, although I don't have a diagnosis of just schizophrenia. Luckily, I'm not really suffering from any symptoms right now at all, thank God. But I did have mental health issues, lots of paranoia and delusion. And my paranoia was, I was very, very fearful. I was fearful of the dark so much that I didn't want to close my eyes and go to sleep. I was fearful of loud flushing toilets and loud hand dryers in public restrooms. I was afraid of so many random things, loud noises. I might think that people were out to get me or people were trying to hurt me. And it was a really hard time in my life because I was being prescribed antipsychotics, and they're so blunting, they're so numbing. And for a couple years, I did really well on some antipsychotics because my brain really needed it, and I did well. But then over the course of the following decade, I was just on so many different antipsychotics. One wouldn't work, so we would try another. That one wouldn't work, so we would try a different one. We'd raise the dose, we'd lower the dose. It was really, really detrimental, not only to my health and my happiness, but it was detrimental to like my path in life. So whatever God's plan has been for me, it really did go off track by some of the decisions I made when I was younger, trying weed, trying acid, and it's nobody's fault but my own. I have the best parents ever. I have a great community, and I do have a lot going for me. I just, for some reason, went down that path, and it really messed me up. And so long story short is I had over a decade of this medication and that medication back and forth and up and down and like horrible stuff. I actually one day was thinking about going off my medications, and I was going to call my doctor, and which I did, and say, look, I just need a break. I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to take my medications. I really need to do what people would call a med wash. I need to just get everything out of my system, get everything off my plate with this whole mental health problem, this whole mental illness and treating it and seeing doctors, seeing therapists. I needed a break. I needed to just breathe. I needed to be alone. And so I did that. What really motivated me to do it is, for some reason, I don't remember why, but I was reading an article online. I don't know if I researched CBD or if I researched how to treat schizophrenia naturally. Like, I don't know what I researched. I probably was researching like how to treat schizophrenia without pharmaceuticals. So what I found was more than one article on the National Institute of Health.gov website. So this is a government-based website where there were studies that were done in Europe. And this particular article was written in Europe. So there were studies at that time. And the studies showed that CBD, I believed CBD Full Spectrum oil. I'm not really sure exactly what type of oils they used in the study, but I used CBD Full Spectrum oil and it worked for me. So again, they're talking about CBD oil. I don't know. There's basically 3 different types that I know of. There's pure CBD oil, which is only CBD, cannabidiol. It's only CBD, which is known as cannabidiol. And then there is CBD broad spectrum oil, which means it has cannabidiol and it has all the other parts of the hemp plant, but it doesn't have the THC. So they remove the THC. You're getting all of these other cannabinoids, CBD being one of the cannabinoids. So it's scientific stuff, but if you're into it, if it's something that you're very interested in, you'll grasp it. And then CBD Full Spectrum oil is the one that I chose to use, and people might be afraid of someone like me using this because it has a tiny bit of THC in it. But the amount of THC, which is the part of the marijuana plant, part of the hemp plant that gets people high and causes a psychotic reaction, or it gives you a mental high. Like it's the part of your brain that might, if you smoke weed, it might make your mind race. It might make you paranoid. It might make you think too much or think broadly or creatively or whatever. So the THC is like the psychoactive. That's what I meant to say, not the psychotic part, because you're not necessarily going to become psychotic because you smoke weed. Everyone's different. Everyone's reaction to weed is different. But basically, the THC is the psychoactive part of the brain, whereas the cannabinoids, such as CBD, also known as cannabidiol, the CBD and other cannabinoids have the physical calming effect of the marijuana. So some people smoke weed, they might get a little paranoid and worried, but at the same time, their body is super relaxed. And CBD is part of the hemp plant or marijuana plant or whatever. It's the part of the plant that calms the body. And in a way, it has an antipsychotic effect. So if you're smoking weed that is higher in THC compared to the level of CBD, whatever, I'm not a scientist, I'm sorry, but if you're, basically, let me put it this way, if you're smoking marijuana that is very high in THC, you're going to have more of a psychoactive high. Whereas if you're smoking marijuana that is lower in THC, you will have a lower, maybe a very little bit of a psychoactive high, maybe none at all if you're taking CBD full spectrum oil that you can buy in a store online, which has very little THC. You're going to get more of the antipsychotic effect of the CBD and all of the other compounds. So I would take CBD full spectrum oil when I started to play around with CBD, because apparently the little bit of THC in the CBD full spectrum oil activates the other parts of the plant that are in that oil, such as the CBD and all these other cannabinoids that I don't know the names of. I think there's like CBG, CBC. Is there a CBN? I don't really remember, but there's all these other parts that the THC activates. So you're going to get a better effect. You're going to get, believe it or not, a better calming effect from the CBD, or an antipsychotic effect, which is what it did for me, an antipsychotic effect. You're going to get that more of a powerful effect from the CBD if you have a little bit of THC with it, because this THC will simply act as a catalyst. It is not enough for most people, maybe not even enough for anyone, to have a mental high. So you're not, that tiny bit of THC, I think it has to be less than like 0.3 or less than 0.03% THC, something like that. And you will not get high off of that. All that's going to do is help the other part of the other parts of the CBD full spectrum oil. It's going to help those parts to work better. So it activates them. So blah, 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 blah. I used that for about 9 to 12 months. And another long story short, it healed my brain. Over time, I was taking such low doses. You'll have to research this yourself and find out like what doses people take and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to tell you what to buy, which CBD full spectrum oil to buy. I don't want to tell you how much to take. I want you to do the research on your own. There's no doctors near me that work with CBD. So I did the research on my own and I treated myself, and it worked to a large extent. So my fearful paranoia, being afraid of the dark, that went away. Being afraid of loud noises, that went away. Thinking people were out to get me or harm me, that went out the window. I did so well for 9 to 12 months, and then I didn't really know what else to do with the CBD. I felt like I didn't really need to keep taking it, and even if I did need to keep taking it, I didn't really know how much to take. So I kind of just stopped taking it. I weaned myself off. And I would take it like once in a blue moon, but not very often. I ended up having another mental health episode, like sort of like a very less intense schizoaffective episode. I was concerned that people were, judging me, or like I wasn't afraid that anyone was going to hurt me, because that really did go away, but I actually was still a little bit afraid. So let me take what I said earlier back. I was a little bit afraid that people were out to get me, such as sectioning me into the mental health hospital. I thought that people were just trying to section me, get me back on pharmaceuticals, this and that. And I was a little bit paranoid in that sense and delusional, but it had been so long since I had had those episodes. And again, the pharmaceuticals never took away, they never cured my mental illness. I still was afraid of things and paranoid sometimes, even on the pharmaceuticals. The CBD, after taking that was the first time that I ever felt such a strong improvement in my mental illness. And so when I relapsed, I had stopped taking the CBD and then I relapsed. Even though my brain healed so much, it didn't heal 100%, which is unfortunate, but I'm so grateful and blessed that it healed as much as it did. Because I went to the hospital and It was still a struggle with the doctors to try to get them to not put me on such heavy antipsychotics, because I didn't think I really needed them to be that intense. I just needed like a little something. So unfortunately, I went through the ringer again. I was on heavy antipsychotics, and I had to like really just kind of wait for the doctors to be like, okay, we're going to lower your medication. But I was complaining of my side effects and whatnot. And I told them to, I told my doctor, I said, look, like, I'm going to want to go off of these medications again because I really just don't like them and how they make me feel. And they might be helping this problem that I have, such as the schizoaffective, but they're causing other problems such as fatigue, like weight gain, just like foggy head fog, like all these horrible things, and numbness, not feeling my emotions. And I told my doctor I'm going to end up not wanting to take these again. So finally, my doctor changed my medication to something much better, and a lot of things changed. I still take pharmaceuticals to this day. It just works for me for now. I can thank the CBD so much for the change that it brought in my life, the change for the better, like the amazing effect it had on my brain. I wish that I could go back and use CBD again. The problem that I have to make sure is there isn't enough research that CBD is safe to take with other medications, even like over-the-counter ibuprofen or Tylenol. To my knowledge, the last I researched this, and I've researched it several times, you're not really supposed to take CBD with other medications because it can cause medications to stay in your bloodstream for longer than they normally would, which is dangerous because usually you would take a medication and then it would wear off. But I believe the CBD, you're not supposed to take it with other meds because the CBD will cause your body to sort of like maintain that same level of the drug in your system for like too long of a period. Something like that. You'd have to research that again. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you to take CBD, but I want people to know, if you know someone with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or something under the schizophrenic umbrella, or someone who's experiencing psychosis, I will never be able to thank anything or anyone as much as I can thank CBD Full Spectrum oil for where I'm at today. Like, I can definitely thank my parents just as much, of course, but the CBD Full Spectrum oil is like right there next to my parents. Like, I have a good family, and of course I love and respect my doctors and therapists that I've had in the past and ones that I've had presently. But I had some hard times. Sometimes people in psych hospitals aren't that great. Sometimes the doctors are not good. Sometimes they're not fair. Sometimes the social workers are very biased. I went to the same hospital where I live dozens and dozens of times. And then one time, this was right before I decided to like go off my meds and kind of do things my own way. Thank God I did, at least for a year, because it did help me in ways that the other meds never did. But the one time I went to a different hospital, so I know I'm all over the place. I went to the hospital near me dozens and dozens of times. The one time that I went to a different hospital, one thing that they consistently said to me is, wow, you're so much different from what they write about you in the reports. The ways that you were acting there, like, you're not like that here. And the things that they've written about you, it just doesn't seem true. And there were some things that I saw in reports that I would have to like sign, and I would read what the doctors had written. They did write some things that were not accurate, that were not fair. And I'm like, what are they like? They're a professional, like, not, and here's what I want you to understand. There's so many good doctors out there, but there's good people in the world and there's bad people in the world. That means there are good doctors in the world and there are bad doctors in the world. It's just the way it is in every profession. You're going to have good workers, you're going to have bad workers. And it's so important to keep an eye out for yourself if you're dealing with mental illness. I'm sorry if you're struggling or if someone you love is struggling, but I love you and I'm sharing this with you because if you need to hear it, then this is God helping me to realize that he put me through all of this so that I could share this wisdom with you, because you might have a loved one, especially if it's like your child, who's really suffering and like they're taking antipsychotics, and that's like, I can't even imagine being a kid and having to take them. They might benefit from trying CBD. And if you're a parent who lives somewhere and you have a child, or maybe you're just a family member or a friend to someone that has mental illness, especially schizophrenia, if you live somewhere where there are doctors who work with CBD, please, like, even if you have to save up your money and do it out of pocket because insurance might not cover it, like, find those doctors and let them help you. I researched it all on my own. I did it all on my own. Didn't come out perfect, probably because I was just winging it, but it improved my health so much. I wouldn't be recording this video today if I didn't go through such a profoundly great experience. I feel like I've been wanting to share this forever, and I just didn't know how. But I hope that this video serves you well. God bless you. It shouldn't have been 21 minutes long. I apologize. I hope it was a little bit informative or encouraging. I want to at least encourage you, if you're interested in what I'm talking about, please go research it and read about CBD. So I love you guys. Peace and have a great day. Bye.